Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to cover a topic which is, probably not the most interesting and exciting, probably doesn't get the most clicks, but I think is valuable. I was working with a client, helping them to design an investment plan, figuring out how to deploy their capital, etc. And one of the things we were doing was looking at crypto. And as we were going through, I was walking them through, how to make these purchases, etc. They said, "Wow, how do you know all this stuff? This is really complicated." And mentioned, "Hey, listen, you should have a service for this." And I don't have time to particularly go through and teach people how to do this, but I think it's a valuable thing to share in a quick video. I spent some time yesterday, I guess it was, with another friend who wanted to do some investing. I said, "Hey, let's just screen share. I'll go through and I'll walk you through how to do this." And it's not intuitively or inherently simple. So this is, how do you buy or invest in crypto if you are interested in that space? Now, just some caveats before we get started. I've been mentioning on these videos since summer, maybe early summer of 2020, that I thought the risk to reward on Bitcoin was really good. Some of the other cryptos arguably have better risk to reward at this point in time. Hard to, you can play that out. However, Bitcoin's much more expensive than then, right? It peaked out at 41,000 at the time that I'm recording this. It's fallen down to around 34,000. We'll see what happens. It could go down, it could go up, who knows, right? But the point is that, as it gets higher, the risk to reward changes. And I'll probably do some video in the future about asymmetric risk to reward and explaining kind of investment philosophy around that. But the point is, it's still a reasonable investment compared to a bunch of the other things out there. Not as good as it was, but, reasonable thing to consider as part of a portfolio. And certainly some of the other cryptos as well have, 10x, 20x upside. So, some people may want to invest. So let's get started. First thing you need to know, in order to invest in or buy cryptocurrency, you should go and you should purchase the cryptocurrency. So you have to somehow convert fiat into crypto, okay? Depending on the amount of money that you're going to do this with, I would say there's loosely 3 ways that you can do this, all right? You can use an exchange, right? I don't like exchanges because I'm terrified of losing money on them. But that being said, the truth is you're very secure on something like Coinbase or Kraken or one of these things, right? So, probably perfectly fine. That being said, philosophically, I try to avoid them as much as possible. That being said, sometimes you can't. So anyway, that's one way, okay? So what would you do? Let's talk about the action steps here. By the way, I would have loved to kind of do a screen share with you, but privacy around things, I'd rather not. So anyway, I apologize for that. There's probably some other videos you can check out, but I'll try and walk you through it. So you would want to check on, in the region that you're in, what are some exchanges, okay? So big ones that you might check out: Coinbase, Kraken, Crypto.com. I know I was talking to somebody in Canada, something Netcoins. There's Bitstamp, Bitfinex, Gemini. I think the one's called Liquid. There's tons, right? Basically, you can Google and read around some people's reviews. Etoro potentially allows you to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it can actually transfer it out. So that's one thing. Places I would recommend not doing it: Revolut, not really a great place to do this. Please, God, do not buy on Grayscale or something like that. Grayscale is basically a fund that you can buy that's supposed to be represented by this. And if you look, there's a high premium over the actual underlying assets. So you can basically look and see how many assets do they hold and what is the cost per share. And you're going to find that it's a pretty big difference. I think at Bitcoin Cash was 19 to 1 at one point in time. Just insane, right? So don't do that. The reason not to buy through something like PayPal, I've mentioned this before, is it's a walled garden. You can't get the money out. Same thing with Revolut, okay? Meaning that you can't send your crypto to somebody else. You can't receive crypto from them. It's all only within that platform. And there's reasons they do that. I'm ideologically against it. It's kind of antithetical to the whole idea of crypto. Yeah, as an investment, in theory, it's fine, but I would prefer, I tell people don't do that, okay? You want to control your crypto. So looking up an exchange. Now, what would you do? You would just go to their website and you would sign up. And you could go through, they'll have an identity verification process in order to register there. There's a whole bunch of them, and some of them are more open to Americans, some of them are not, some of them are open to Canadians, some of them are not. There's a ton, right? So that's one way to do it. The next way, if you're dealing with small amounts of money, is to use something like local Bitcoins. You can go to localbitcoins.com, you can sign up, and you can find local people in the area who you can basically buy from. And there's all different payment methods they'll accept, and you can pay with cash, you can whatever. Along that line is you can find local brokers. So I was dealing with somebody recently because I wanted to pull some money out of PayPal, and there were some complications. It's really hard to buy crypto from within PayPal because of their refund policies, et cetera. So it was a local broker who would do it. So okay, great, you can do that. The third way that you can, and by the way, when you use these brokers, typically the fees will be higher. So if we look at kind of comparing the different options, buying through, say, someplace like Coinbase is going to be fairly inexpensive, relatively speaking, okay? Then you've got someplace like a broker. I would expect to pay like 5%-ish as a commission on buying from a local broker, okay? Depending on where you are, depending on, are you buying with cash, things like this. The third way you can go is you can go through an OTC desk, okay? So there's a bunch of these. If you're interested, reach out to me. I can connect you with some really good ones. But basically, it means over-the-counter exchange. It's where it's best for if you're doing large transactions, right? So if you're buying, 50 at least, but 100,000, 250,000, 2 million, 5 million, etc. OTC desks are arguably the best way to go. In theory, there's no limits. Typically, if you have something like Coinbase, maybe deposit money in and then it's stuck there for a while before you can do anything. Very annoying, right? You certainly can't transfer it out. So there's a lot more kind of controls over here that make it a little bit annoying. So hence, OTC desks, my preferred way, so long as you can kind of meet the standards, okay? So that's the thing. By the way, before we go on, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Really appreciate the support. Share the video with your friends if you like it. Click the thumbs up if you like it. Tell me if you don't. And let's carry on. Okay, so you've opened up some sort of an exchange or exchange account or something like that, which allows you to buy crypto, okay? Now, if you are using something like an exchange account, so you're using Coinbase or Kraken or one of these, right? Then you can go and it will include like a wallet address in there, okay? Now, generally speaking, my advice is to move the money off of the exchange. We don't really generally like money at exchanges. By the way, I did do a video previously on hard wallets and kind of explaining how those work. So if you want to buy a hard wallet, the main two are Ledger and Trezor. Those are the two that people talk about. There's some other ones that are really cool, actually. There's like a lot of innovation happening in that space, but we're not going to cover that for this video. So let's say that you are wanting to move it off the exchange, okay? And which, by the way, so let's go to the second. You would then, in the second case where you have a local broker or you would have an OTC desk, you would need a Bitcoin or a crypto wallet, okay? Now, there's different types of wallets. The two main wallets that would be relevant to you would be a Bitcoin wallet, okay? And some sort of an Ethereum wallet, okay? Now, Ethereum wallets allow you typically to have all these different coins that are Ethereum-based coins. So for those who aren't familiar, there's like maybe 8,000 coins out there, okay? The majority of those, like probably 95+%, are Ethereum tokens, okay? They're built on the Ethereum network. They're typically what are called ERC20 tokens, although there's some other types that can be built on Ethereum. And so often when you're wanting to buy different types, you would do it that way. Okay, you can exchange between Ethereum type tokens. Okay, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Bitcoin is a totally different chain. There's some others as well, like Theta is a totally different chain. There's something called Binance Chain, right? So that's got a variety of different assets on it. So there's a few different ones that you can get into, right? Cardano is a different chain. There's a bunch that are kind of separate chains, but the majority of them are Ethereum-based chains. And so usually you're kind of looking at an Ethereum-based token, not intrinsically, but usually, okay? And we're going to talk about how do you get to them. So if you were going to go and get Bitcoin, okay, then you would need a Bitcoin wallet address if you didn't have it on an exchange or if you wanted to transfer it off the exchange, okay? How does this work? So there's lots of websites that you can go and you can sign up. You can Google, what are the best Bitcoin wallets? And basically, in theory, if you were tech savvy enough, you could just run code to generate, basically what happens is you generate a private key, which can have all these different, which associates to the public key, and then you can basically start using it, okay? So you could, in theory, generate your own, but because of the fact that most people are not gonna do that, they don't understand how to do that, etc., you're gonna use some software. So for instance, you could go to blockchain.com, you could click on wallet, or sign up for a wallet, and you can go through the process of getting set up. There are many of these. Okay, again, if you go to like crypto.com, I think there's one called Blue Wallet. There's a ton out there, right? So you can kind of go and check that out to see what's best for you. Okay. The easy one that I mentioned from a Bitcoin standpoint is you could use, like I said, blockchain.com. But whatever, you can use a bunch. All right. The Ethereum side, I think, is much simpler to solve because you're probably going to use MetaMask. Okay, so what do? Well, you go and you Google and you find MetaMask, right? You go to their website. MetaMask is going to be a little extension that you install into your Chrome. It's going to be a little fox that's going to go on your bar there. Okay. Now, when you sign up for a Bitcoin wallet or one of these other wallets, the very, very important thing is you're going to get these words. Okay. These words allow you to restore your wallet if you were to ever lose it, okay? It's like 12 words. So very, very important that you memorize these words, or if you don't memorize them, you write them down, okay? Now, keep in mind, if somebody else gets your words, they can restore your wallet and they can have access to it. So you want to be very careful about these. You don't want to lose them, right? And you don't want to let somebody else have them. There's no like passwords or something that are going to protect you from that. Okay, so very, very, very important. You need these words. Okay, copy these words down, put them away. Don't ever lose them. Hide them somewhere. Make a duplicate copy of them. Make sure it's secure. And I'm going to talk in just a second about some security things. But point is, you need these words. All right. And quick little thing here. Here's the thing about the world of crypto. Okay. Crypto, you're kind of like, you get to be your own bank, right? Now, this is a pro and a con to it, right? The one is nobody can censor you, nobody can restrict you, nobody can whatever, right? You have the power, okay? On the flip side, the danger is nobody's there to protect you either. This is a world of personal responsibility. I actually like that. Like, I'm a big fan that we're losing personal responsibility in the world, and I think we should have more personal responsibility. And so because of that, I'm like, look, I'm all for people, if you screw it up, you've screwed it up. There's no password reset. There's nobody who's going to come and reverse a transaction for you. It's on you, okay? It's all on you. So make sure you have your words. Now, best practices with these words. You're going to want to write them down somewhere, okay? I would recommend you write down at least 2 or 3 copies of them, okay? Now, ideally, you then break them up into separate parts so somebody doesn't know what they are and they don't know like what combination they're in. So they don't actually get all 12 words at once if somebody was to find them, right? You say, okay, great, I've got 6 words here, 6 words here, or 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, however you want to divide it, however works for you, but separate them out, okay, so that somebody can't just find your words and take them and run off with them, okay? That's point number 1. Number 2, put them someplace secure. And I mentioned having like a few copies of them. So one of the things that people might recommend is they say, okay, I'm going to take 6 of my words, I'm going to put them in one safety deposit box, 6 of them going in another safety deposit box. Maybe you say, hey, I'm going to write them in my favorite book in my library, and this one's going in this book, this one's going in this book, and I know that it's on page 243, right? And somebody would have to flip through there. The chances of finding this and finding them both very, very slim, right? Maybe you're going to go and you're going to write them down, you're going to bury them. And maybe you've got an acreage somewhere, you bury them by a tree. Whatever it is that works for you, great. Like, do that to keep the words secure, keep them separate, have a backup location if in case you forget or lose them or whatever. And then if you can memorize them, perfect, great. That's your words secure. All right. So if you've followed this process, you've signed up for MetaMask. In your MetaMask account, you will actually have a password, so it goes in and accesses that. You're going to have it on the little line on your browser, okay? And you probably got a Bitcoin wallet address, which you're accessing through. You can install local software. You could have a mobile app. You could have a cloud-based app. I kind of like doing it through the cloud just because of the fact that then if somebody gets my device, there's nothing intrinsically there, right? So that's kind of appealing to me. But do what it is that works for you. Again, it's personal responsibility here. And then of course, a hardware wallet, is kind of the ideal in terms of protection and safety. Okay. All right. So you've got that. What's next? Well, if you want to transfer money from, let's say, your exchange account to, let's say, your Bitcoin account, there's going to be a code. Okay, this is your public key. All right, and usually you can go on there. So you basically just go in, like for example, if you were to use blockchain.com, you're basically going to go to receive. Right, you're going to select your wallet. There's going to be a QR code underneath. There's typically going to be like a long string of characters. You can click copy. You know, that's your public key that people can access. Okay, actually in blockchain.info you can generate multiple of these addresses. You can generate like an unlimited number of addresses. Anyway, whole point is just that you're going to have this key. Okay, when you want to send money to somebody, it's super simple. Okay, if we compare to like sending a Swift transfer or something like that, all you do is you put that key in, you enter how much you're going to do, you hit send. Now usually the software maybe will have like a verification. It sends you an email you need to confirm, or sends you a text message, or requires you to do two-factor authentication with, like, for example, if you're on Binance, which is one of the major exchanges I'll talk about in a minute, then you're going to have an email code, plus you're going to have like a Google Authenticator code. However it is that works for the particular program, they're going to have some protection before you send it out. Okay, great. But in theory, if you just have like on the raw code basis, that's just, it's something that it's a layer of abstraction they're building on top of it. Okay. All right. What is the, so that's the first part, is that's how you would send. So in other words, if you were in Coinbase, say, and you're like, okay, great, I have to send this out to my wallet. Alternatively, if you're dealing with a local broker, right, who they're going to send you the Bitcoin, you're going to give them your wallet address, okay, and they're going to send it. What I would recommend, especially the first time you've done it, is get them to send like a small amount of money, right, $100 or something, just to make sure it goes through. You're like, okay, great, the transaction went through, we're happy, right? Otherwise, money could just get lost somewhere and it's unrecoverable. Okay, so worth being a little bit paranoid there. Likewise, if you have an OTC desk, you're going to give them that code. Very often, they're going to go and whitelist that wallet. So be aware, that's something that's going to happen at the OTC desk. And basically, you're going to give them that. When you do the transaction, they're going to send it through. Great, trade complete, fantastic. Okay, so that is the thing that you need. If you're on MetaMask, so MetaMask is specifically for Ethereum. It's specifically for our purposes, we're going to call it ERC20 tokens. ERC20 tokens are tokens. It's a particular like template that they're built on Ethereum. Okay, Ethereum being like a network, a cloud protocol sort of thing that runs lots of different stuff. Okay, again, I'll do a video on Ethereum at some point in time. So in there, you can go, you click on the little fox. It's going to bring down this little menu. Up at the top, you're going to see a code. You're going to click on it. It's going to copy it to your clipboard, and you can paste it somewhere, whether it's into an email or into a text message or whatever, to send it to somebody. That's what's going to allow you to send to there. The only thing you can send to there are Ethereum, like ERC20 tokens. Okay, so you can't send Bitcoin there. You can't send Theta there. You can't send Ruin there. You can't send Cardano there. This is specifically for Ethereum tokens. It just happens that most of them that you would look up are Ethereum tokens. Okay. Now, that's covered off Bitcoin. It's covered off Ethereum, which is going to be the majority of the stuff you're going to do. Now, if you wanted to exchange, say, your Bitcoin for some of these other tokens, you could do it in an exchange. So we mentioned already you could have an exchange account. Another thing that you could do if you don't have that is you could sign up for a Binance account. Okay, so Binance is a major exchange, but they don't really deal with fiat so much. Okay, it's probably the best account for trading. And so you can go in, you can create a Binance account. You can have an unverified account at basic, but it kind of puts some restrictions on you in terms of how much you can withdraw. You can verify it, you can increase the withdrawal amount, fair enough. Okay, if you go on there, you can exchange between a whole bunch, and it's very cost effective. I think they charge 0.1% of the transaction volume to do that transaction for you, which is really cheap compared to what a lot of the other options are. Okay, so in other words, what do I mean by this? Let's say that I signed up for an OTC desk. Okay, I'm like, okay, great, I signed up for an OTC desk. Let's say I bought $100,000 of Bitcoin. Okay, great. I gave them my wallet address. They sent the money to that wallet. I log in, I take a look, I'm like, oh yeah, there's my Bitcoin sitting there. Now I decide, you know what, I really want to buy some Theta. I like Theta, so I'm going to mention Theta. Or I want to buy some Ruin. Okay, again, I like both of these. So great. What are we going to do? We're going to say, let's go into our Binance account, which we can go sign up for, just like these other exchanges, right? I'm going to say, okay, what's my wallet address in Binance? Okay, so I can receive, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to wallet, and then I'm going to go like fund or deposit, right? And I'm going to click deposit in crypto, okay? You can follow along this on your screen as I describe this. And then it's going to bring up a wallet address, or it'll have a little drop down that will show you the types of currencies like Bitcoin, etc. Right? You're going to select it. On the side, you're going to see the QR code with the little address underneath. You're going to copy. You're going to paste it into your other one. You're going to enter how much you want to send. You're going to hit send. When you send Bitcoin, I would say it's typically these days going to take maybe like half an hour for the transaction to go through. Okay, that's kind of what you can expect. If the network's really busy, it could take longer. If it's not, it could take less. But somewhere around that range. What has to happen is the transaction has to go out and it has to get validated multiple times. So it should actually kind of show up on the blockchain fairly quickly, but then it has to get it has to go through what are called confirmations, and so it'll get confirmed multiple times, and they don't really qualify it as being a completed transaction until it's been confirmed a certain number of times. Okay. All right. So it shows up in your Binance account, and now in your Binance account, you can go and you can trade it for other tokens. So if I was going to do like I've said, so I own some Ruin, I own some Theta. This is where I bought them, right? It was on Binance. Cool. All right. And there's a whole bunch of others. You could go buy Cardano, or you could buy XRP or XLM, or Litecoin, or a bunch of others that I don't think are very good. Whatever, right? You can do your own research, figure out what you want to buy yourself. All right. Now, another thing to go along with this is, how do you figure out what are the tokens, what's going on? I would recommend using a site called CoinGecko. Okay, so you're going to go to coingecko.com, and it's going to list all these different tokens. You can click to sort them by market cap, sort them by price movement in the last hour, in the last 24 hours, in the last 7 days. You can click on them and look at the charts and play around with it. You can read descriptions of the projects. You can go and you can check out their websites. You can do all these different things, right? So I go there very frequently, like a few times a day. I'm checking out CoinGecko to see how these coins are moving, okay? All right, what's next? Well, let's now move over to talking about ERC20 tokens, because that's going to be the majority of what you're going to buy. Now, I'm going to tell you about decentralized exchanges because I'm a big fan of decentralized exchanges. And for the sake of this, I'm going to use Uniswap, but the reality is there's a bunch of them, okay? So there's a bunch of different decentralized exchanges. And right now, there's kind of a lot of innovation in what we call layer 2 protocols that are helping to speed up transactions. So Uniswap, by the time you watch this, maybe is not the best option or whatever, but it's number one as I'm recording this, okay? So I'd go to uniswap.org, okay? When I go to uniswap.org, in the top right-hand corner, there's a little thing that says app. I'm going to click that, okay? When I do that, it's going to bring up a screen where I can swap, and I can swap from one token to another token, okay? There's going to be another thing below there that says Connect Wallet, or actually it's up in the top corner, Connect Wallet. I'm going to click Connect Wallet, okay? When I do that, it's going to bring up a list of options. You're going to see MetaMask. You're going to click on MetaMask, okay? When you click on MetaMask, what it's going to do is it's going to ask to authorize it in your little MetaMask. So sometimes there'll be a little window thing that pops up, okay? And you can click Confirm, okay? If not, then there usually will be a little notification. You have to click on the Fox, okay, in your little bar for your Chrome extension, and then you go down and you click Confirm, okay? Now it has connected your MetaMask to Uniswap, which allows you to exchange. Now let's talk about what Uniswap is. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange. What does this mean? Well, in the case of, say, Coinbase or these other exchanges, they hold on to your tokens, okay? So if something happens, they could get hacked and your tokens could get lost. They could do a scam and your tokens could get lost. The government could come after them and they could say, we don't really like this guy. We're going to hold on to their tokens. Your tokens could get lost. There have been, I think in the last year, $300 million has been lost in hacks, etc. There's been a bunch of exit scams. This is why I don't like centralized exchanges. I'm a big fan of non-custodial solutions. So I do use Binance, and I think you kind of have to for certain use cases. It's just the game in town, or maybe a few others, but I don't like them. So Uniswap is decentralized, meaning nobody else has your tokens except for you. Okay, you have your tokens. You never give up your tokens. The swap occurs all based on code, based on something called automated market making. Okay, it's subject for another video. But this is why we like it. We like decentralized exchanges. Now, the consequence is decentralized exchanges tend to be slower and more expensive right now. Okay, so if you do a trade on Binance, like I said, you pay like 0.1% for a trade, and it happens like that. Okay, super, super fast. If you try and do an exchange of something on Uniswap these days, what you're gonna probably end up with is you're probably gonna take, I don't know, maybe like 5 minutes to do that transaction, and it could cost you, I mean, it depends on, so there's gonna be a certain amount of slippage in the price. If it's a major token pair, then it's not a big deal, but in some cases it can be very high if there's not a lot of liquidity. But I would say, like, I've seen, so you pay something called gas fees, which I'll mention in a second. And so, for instance, we were doing some transactions the other day. I think it was like $14 in gas fees. So, you're doing like $1,000 transaction, it's 14 bucks. Well, that was, call it 1.5%, right? 1.5% is a pretty expensive trade fee compared to the 0.1% on Binance. Now, the argument is if you don't do these very often, it doesn't really matter, which is why day traders, right, go and they're busy doing it on Binance, right? Because it's got to be. You can't afford to pay those fees, and you can't afford to have that long transaction time. The layer 2 solutions I was mentioning, so these are things like Loopring, Injective, different protocols like this, are working on solving that problem. And so probably in a few years, they'll have really good decentralized exchanges that you could actually use for some of this other stuff. You can have derivatives and options and all this kind of thing, but right now they don't have that, okay? So, or at least they don't have a really great use for it. So it's still in development, right? All right, so let's go back to this subject of you've got your wallet is now connected to your Uniswap, okay? Now what do you do? Okay, so what you need to do is you need to go and you need to select what token you have. Now you have to, in order to make this work, you must have some Ethereum, okay? And the reason for this is because any transactions on the Ethereum network are paid for with what's called gas, okay? Or it's GWEI, GUI, or however you pronounce it. But it's gas fees, okay? So that's paid for in Ethereum, okay? And if you don't have any Ethereum, no transactions, okay? Very, very important. So in order to play this game, you want to start by putting some Ethereum in your wallet, okay? So when I'm working with people, helping them out, one of the first things we do, maybe we buy some Bitcoin, we probably buy a bunch of Ethereum, and we load the Ethereum up into your MetaMask, okay? Perfect. Now you've got a bunch. Now you can swap that Ethereum into anything else. Now you could load up USDT, you could load up DAI, you could load up, any of these other tokens, of which there are like, I don't know, a couple thousand of them or something. You could swap between all of them on there. But the most common ones you're going to have would be one of the stable coins. In particular, I would say USDT, which is also called Tether, DAI. So these are both stable coins, right? Meaning that their price is basically pegged to the US dollar, or Ethereum itself, right? Those would be kind of like your basic holding currencies within the Ethereum network, okay? And you would swap those for whatever it is that you like. So let's take some examples. Well, you could buy the Uniswap token. I'll go through some of the ones that I own. So Uniswap, SushiSwap, Aave, Celsius, Nexo, Injective, Loopring, Reserve Rights, let's see here, Band, Link, DOS, some of these, right? These are kind of some of the tokens that you might want to buy. There's a whole bunch of them, right? You have to do your own research and figure out, but those are just listing off some of the ones. Oh, Synthetic, big Synthetic fan. Synthetic's a great project. So anyway, those would be some examples of stuff that you could buy. So what would you do? You would start with your start currency, right? So you're gonna select, let's say it's Ethereum, right? So we transferred Ethereum in there. All right. Now, notice that when you punch in the amount that you want to swap, you're gonna punch it in terms of number of Ethereum, not dollar amount, okay? So it's number of Ethereum, not dollar amount. And so if you say wanted to do like $1,000, what do you have to do? Well, you have to go to your Gecko, right? You have to say, okay, what's the current price of Ethereum? Let's say it's $1,200, right? Okay, great, it's $1,200. And I want to buy $1,000. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, okay, $1,000 divided by $1,200. It's going to be, approximately 0.77 or something like that. You're going to put that in. Okay. Then you're going to select your other one. Okay. Now this is where this other part is important. All right. So it could be you can select and you can just type in, for example, probably if you typed in SNX, which is the ticker symbol for synthetic, it would just come up. But a bunch of them won't, right? So for instance, probably if you were going to search for Injective, because it's a smaller cap coin, probably it's not going to come up. Okay. If it's not going to come up, what do you how do you get it in there, right? Well, you have to go and look up every type of token on the Ethereum network has an address to it. Okay. So you have to go and get that address. So how do you do that? You go to your CoinGecko. Okay. So you go back to your CoinGecko, and in the top right-hand corner, there's a little search bar. Okay, so you type in the search. So for instance, I'm going to type INJ for Injective. Okay, or maybe I just type in Injective. Either way. So it's going to come up with the list. I'm going to click on the one that I want. Okay, great. It loads up the page. Okay. Now, as you scroll down the page, at some point there's going to be a little graph, a chart that shows the price movements. A little bit above that, on the kind of left-hand side, it's going to have the website. It's going to have some things about it, and one is going to be the contract, and it's going to have a little two papers for picture next to it, and you click on it and it copies this address. So there's a little address, these little things here, you click on it, boom, you copied the address. Now you can take that address, you go back to your Uniswap, right? You punch that in and it will come up with the token, and there's going to be a little thing that you can click that says add. So you click add and it'll say added by user, then you click on the token, and now you can swap. Okay. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to show you in advance. So let's say you had your 0.77 Ethereum, right? You're going to swap for synthetic, for example. Synthetic's a great token. It's going to tell you how much price slippage you're going to have. Now, generally speaking, Uniswap will not allow you to do a transaction if there's going to be price slippage over 15%. Okay, but usually it should be very minor. I would expect on a transaction from Ethereum to synthetic, you'd probably have price slippage that's I don't know, 0.01% or something like that. Very little. Okay. So what you're going to have to do now, the first time that you do this, all right, you're going to have to confirm basically the authorization for your wallet to do this. Okay. So if I recall correctly, there's going to be two buttons. One is going to be approve. So you're going to click approve, and a thing should come up with your MetaMask. If it doesn't, then you have to click on the little fox and it comes up. You click approve. Okay. It's going to initialize it, authorize it. Okay, good. Right. Then you're going to click swap. Okay. You click swap. Again, it has to go approve. You click. Now, when you go to click approve, what it's going to do is it's going to show you your gas fees at this point. Okay. So there's price slippage and there's gas fees. Like I said, the gas fees are paid in Ethereum. And so it's going to tell you, okay, it's going to cost you this much to do it. Okay. You're going to click approve. All right. And what you're going to see is it's going to put a little thing in the upper right-hand corner on the Uniswap webpage, right? So not in your browser bar, but on the web page itself, it's going to say pending one. Okay. And it's going to be doing this transaction. And you can click on it and you can track it on Etherscan, which is the thing that shows you all the transactions on the Ethereum network. Sometimes it doesn't go through. Okay. If it doesn't go through, then you have to redo it. Okay. I would say most of the time it does go through, but you want to leave that page open and wait. And now you can go and do some other transactions. Like sometimes maybe I'm buying like 5 things. So I may go in there and I may do the 1, 2, 3, and it's going to be showing pending 3, pending 4. And at some point it's going to do a little pop-up that's going to say, approved, this, and you can see what's happening. Now, this brings us to the last thing. Okay. If you click on your MetaMask, by default, it's just going to show you the Ethereum that's in your wallet. Okay. At the bottom of this little thing, you're going to see something that says add token. Okay. So let's say you just bought synthetic. Okay. You're going to click add token, and it's going to bring up this screen, and it has just like basic tokens, and there's going to be another kind of like tab thing that you can click on that says custom token. Now at first you may not need to do custom token, right? If you're talking about say synthetic, it's a major enough token, you can probably just type SNX and it comes up, you click on it, you click add token, and it adds it to your list, okay? By the way, you can send it there without having this. It's just you won't be able to see these tokens until you add them, okay? Sometimes, again, it's not going to be on this list. It's not a common enough one, right? If it's not a common enough one, then what you want to do is, again, you want to do that thing where you go to CoinGecko, you look up the token, you scroll down on the fairly close to the top. It's going to be above the chart, but below the upper bar on the left-hand side by where the websites are, etc. You're going to grab the address. You're going to click copy. You're going to put it into the custom. You're going to hit enter. It's going to come up with the token. It's going to populate. There's like a few different fields. It's going to populate the token name for you. You're going to click add, and then great, you're good, and it's going to add it to your list. Okay, and now you can track and see what those are. You can get MetaMask as an app on your phone, okay, and or you can just leave it on your computer, whatever. The whole point is, that's what you've got. So that's pretty much an overview of the basics of what you need to know. It's fairly complicated when you don't know what you're doing, which is why I wanted to do a video on this, even though, like I said, this is probably not a video that's going to get a lot of clicks. It's probably not, people are going to be like, this is boring, whatever. It's useful enough for people that I think it's good information to have. And I really recommend that you try it out, in part just because it's good to be connected with kind of like what's going on in the world. Even if you like throw $100 in just to see like, hey, what's this whole thing about? I'm a really big believer that as technologies advance and we want to stay on top of it, we want to know what the opportunities are. We want to know what the trends are. And this is, one of them. So you can go and you can try it out. As I said, like this is pretty detailed. Hopefully you can follow along. You can pause the video if you need to and go and do it yourself on your computer at the same time. But it should give you a decent explanation of what to do. If you need an OTC desk, right? If you're saying, hey, listen, I want to invest, I would say, realistically, 100,000 or more, right? But let's say 50,000 or more. Then reach out to me and I can intro you to them. And there's a whole bunch of them, but I can introduce you to the people that I use and that I recommend for our clients. And otherwise, like I said, local Bitcoins, or once you start getting into like a community of people, you'll be able to ask somebody, right? It's like, hey, do you know anybody? And there's a bunch of people who sell crypto, and you can do that. Otherwise, like I said, in Canada, there's Netcoins. There's a bunch of them, right? You can ask people like, what's the exchange that they're using, and you can just Google like, best exchanges in Canada, best exchanges in Germany, best exchange, whatever, and get the list. But the biggest one, from the standpoint of like all this, is Coinbase. Coinbase has a bunch of different options. It's not available in every country, but a bunch. Like I said, Kraken is in a lot. Like I said, there's Gemini. There's many. There's probably like, 50 or 100 exchanges. Okay. So I hope that helps. If you have some questions, please put them in the comments below. Happy to answer them. If you're interested at all in how to optimize your taxes, how to get residencies, how to get citizenships, all the types of things we do here, help with international investing, I guess, since we're talking about that subject, then please reach out to me. You can book a call, cardio.fm/Michael Rosmer. I hope you enjoyed the video. Share it with your friends if it's helpful to them. And if you didn't like the video, please tell me in the comments. I'm going to see you guys on the next video.